All right, so back with our clamshell. I'm opening up. I'm gonna do a little pause, and then I'm coming back down. Opening up, little pause, coming back down. Making sure I don't rock backwards. I just wanna feel this up in the side of my back pocket. Control it coming down, raise it up, little pause, coming back down. Little pause, coming back down. All right, so now we're gonna kick that band off, and we're gonna do our combination good morning into our goblet squat pry. So good morning into our goblet squat pry. Hinging at the hip first, tip, feel the hams, pull yourself into a squat, and then up. Straight back, feel the hamstrings, and then down, and then up. Back, down, up. Back, down, up. Oh yeah. And then we're right back to the floor. Back with our clams. If you got a band, slip it up and around. I'm finding it's working a little bit better out in the front of my knees like this. I'm gonna support my head. My knees are bent like I'm in the fetal position here a little bit. Just nice and smooth, little pause at the top of the rep. You should feel that right in like the side of your butt cheek right there. Woo. Little pause. Notice when I go up, I'm not rocking backwards. I'm just staying up nice and square, feeling that side hip. A little pause, and then coming back down. Woo! Switching up. Same idea. Fetal position. I'm gonna support my head with my hands. And then from here, I'm just trying to raise up without rocking backwards. Going up, I'm gonna pause, come back down. Raise it up, pause, come back down. I do not have a lot of tension here, all right? This is not very, like a high tension exercise. A lot of times in a move like this, if we use too much, you're gonna use some other muscle groups. And we're trying to wake up the deep part of the glute here. So our glute medius, that deep kind of inner layer glute muscle. And I'm totally feeling that, that's awesome. All right, this is coming off again. We're gonna go back to our hinge, into our good morning, into our goblet squat. My shorts are all staticky today. Hinge, pull yourself into a squat, and then up. Hinge, pull yourself into a squat, and then up. Find the hamstrings. I don't got a whole lot of time to dance. I gotta get this band down real quick. We're gonna get into it one more time. All right, here we go. We're on the side, we're gonna raise, we're gonna pause, we're gonna come down. Nice and smooth, good control. We're not forcing anything here. You're gonna raise that thing up as high as you can go without rocking backwards. You're gonna pause, let it come down with control, right back up. Oh man, my left glute really needs this one. It's working really hard right now. Woo! And then we gonna switch. Boo-hoo. All right, same setup here. Fetal position, head supporting, hand supporting my head. I'm gonna raise up, I'm gonna come down. I'm not gonna rock backwards. I'm gonna keep a little bit of tension through my core. Oh yeah. So like I said in our little intro, after this, the fun is over. When I saw this workout, I got nervous. All right, get rid of that thing. Yeah. All right, we're gonna go one more time with our hinge to our squat pry. Man, shorts, chill out. 1, 2, and then up. Hinging back, find the hammies, pull yourself into it. Oh, and coming up. Almost there. Woo! All right, warm up is over. So I'm gonna move my mat out of the way here. I'm gonna pull my bench a little bit more into view. And we're gonna be working some rear foot elevated split squats here. So I'm gonna use a little lighter weight, just so that I don't get too winded doing these. Whatever weight that you're holding onto, so if I'm holding the weight in my left hand, my left foot's gonna be on the bench. I like to set up in the bottom. So I'm gonna get in position here. I'm gonna rest my knee on the floor, and then I'm gonna grab this weight. Then I'm gonna come to the top. Now this is tempo style today. 3, 2, 1. 3 seconds down, 3, 2, 1. 2 second pause, 1 second up. 3 seconds down, 2 second pause, 1 second up. We're trying to hit 8 to 12 of those, all right? We're gonna do one side 8 to 12, and we're gonna do the other side 8 to 12. Once you've done both legs, you're gonna grab your bell, and we're gonna do a nice, powerful two-hand swing. So we're gonna open up our stance here a little bit. We're gonna hinge back, hike it through. And we're gonna rep out 15 high-quality swings. All right, so reps again are gonna go 8 to 12 on that rear foot elevated split squat, and then it's gonna go 15 on our two-hand swing. We're gonna be working for the next 12 minutes here. All right, so we're on the clock. I'm gonna grab my weight. I'm gonna set up in the bottom, and I'm gonna come up to the top. My first move is down slow. 3, 2, 1. Hold. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, up. Notice as I come down, I'm coming down with control. I'm gonna pause, and then I'm gonna drive up. I'm gonna come down with control, pause, driving up. We're trying to find a number between 8 and 12 where it feels really tough. And that's where you're gonna stop today. So once you feel like you could only do maybe 1 to 2 more, then we're gonna be done. 3 seconds down, 2 second pause, driving up. Now here's a little kind of nuanced thing. If you're saying, Rich, today I really want to work more of my quads, well then what you're gonna do is your setup's gonna be slightly different. So I'll put this thing on the other side. So again, on these, we're going 8 to 12 on the right, 8 to 12 on the left, and then 15 kettlebell swings. So if you want a little bit more quad, you're gonna set up tighter. And what I mean by that is you're gonna take this front foot and you're gonna scooch it inwards towards your body so that when you come down, you kind of get a little bit of this more shin angle kind of coming back towards you. And then, if you do that the right way, you'll notice your quad in this front leg is gonna have to work quite a bit harder. 3 seconds down, 2 second pause, driving up. 3, 2, 1, pause, driving up. 3, 2, 1, pause, driving up. All right. The other way you could do that is get that front foot way out in front of you. So if I set up, my foot's kind of way out here, way out in front of my body, now I'm gonna be forced to really kind of use this hamstring and this glute quite a bit more. So by positioning this foot either closer to the bench or further out, you're gonna change which muscle groups are gonna be the main workers. You're in tighter, more quad. You're farther out, more hammy, more glute. All right, I'm gonna shake it out here for a second. I'm gonna hit some swings. Now, when we do these swings, for those of you that know how to swing, you should be getting right into this, right into your 15 swings. For those of you that are a little newer to swings, let's break it down. So what we're gonna wanna do is begin creating a triangle between the kettlebell or a dumbbell and our feet. From here, my first position is I'm gonna push my hips backwards behind my body a little bit. So if the bell is kind of out in front of me, I'm gonna open up my stance, I'm gonna push my hips back. I'm gonna get a good hinge, I'm gonna make sure my core is nice and tight. From here, I'm gonna tip the bell, so it's like this. And I'm gonna start leaning my body weight backwards. Then I'm gonna hike that bell back between my legs as if I was snapping a football. And then equally, I'm trying to stand straight up, and then I'm trying to take my hips and push them forward. So my legs are driving down into the ground, and my hips are pushing forward in one powerful motion. As that bell starts moving away from my legs, I'm gonna hard exhale as if I was coughing, pushing all the air out of my belly and finishing by squeezing my abs as tight as I can. So that with that explosive leg and hip drive combined with my breath, this bell is gonna powerfully launch out in front of me. It's gonna float, and then as it starts dying and falling back down, I'm gonna pull that bell nice and high right back through my hip before I explosively drive it out again. All right, so let me just take a step back. Rear foot elevated split squats, 8 to 12 per leg. Tempo, 3 down, 2 pause, 1 up, and then 15 swings. So back to our swing tutorial. We're opening up our stance. I'm gonna hinge my weight back. I'm gonna grab the bell, I'm gonna hike it through, and I'm gonna explosively stand up. Whew, man, all right. So on those, I'm really trying to use a ton of power. Whether you're using a heavy bell or a light bell, the movement should be nearly identical, up to a point. When you start using very heavy weights that I would say are more than half your body weight, then the force is gonna have to change a little bit because the weight's so heavy. But for most of us, we're gonna be using probably weights that are maybe a quarter of our body weight. So with that, it should look fairly balanced. All right, so we're gonna get back into our rear foot elevateds. Now, by all means, you can do these without any sort of extra weight. So if you're just gonna go body weight, we wanna position just kind of like in a balanced spot. So I want this to be kind of like a hybrid move. So my foot's not gonna be too far out, it's not gonna be too far in. So that when I lean forward, my knee is kind of right over the middle of my foot. All right, from here, I'm gonna create some tension through my core. I'm gonna sink into it, coming down slow. 3, 2, 1, I'm gonna pause. 1, 2, drive up. 3, 2, 1, pause, drive up. So we wanna be controlled on the way down. Then we want to drive up powerfully. Then we're going to hit that 2-second pause at the bottom of the rep. Coming down slow. 3, 2, 1, pause. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, bang. Punching it all the way through. 3, 2, 1, pause. Ah. All right, so find a number between 8 and 12. Again, when you're doing these, I always recommend to set up in the bottom. So I like to get my foot up on there, and then if I can, I want to rest my knee on the floor. And then I'm going to position this front foot and get it right where I need it so that I can feel like I'm equally driving through the balls of my feet and my heel together. And then from here, I'm gonna have a slight forward lean so that my knee lines up directly over my midfoot. And now I know I'm in a good position. I'm gonna tighten up my core, drive up, and then get into my set. Down slow, 3, 2, 1, hold, 1, 2, up, nice and quick. 3 seconds coming down, 3, 2, 1, hold, 1, 2, up. This is a really, really challenging. 3 seconds down, 3, 2, 1, hold, drive. If you're doing that one with a weight, you're gonna start with the weight on the side with whichever foot is up on the bench. My right foot is up on the bench, I'm gonna hold the bell in my right hand and be offset a little bit. All right, coming back to our swings, I wanna demo a set coming straight at you here. So all the same rules apply. We're gonna create the triangle with the bell on our feet. We're gonna hinge our weight back. We're gonna make sure that our core is nice and tight. And then from here, we're gonna tip the bell. We're gonna hike it back like a football, snap through, explode through our hips and thighs. Oh, all right. So we have a good combination of some single leg work and some two-legged power work here. Whew. All right. Shake it out. If you need to, take a little breather. And we're going back into this thing. All right, let's talk about our foot here. Let's talk about our foot for a minute. So with our foot, we want to be active, meaning I want to grab the ground with my big toe, my pinky toe, and my heel. And I want to really grab the floor. When I do that, the arch of my foot is going to come up off the ground. It's going to create a nice stable arch, and it's going to help prevent my knee from dive bombing inwards. So it's going to help keep my knee tracking in line with my foot and my hip, and just put myself in a good, powerful position. All right, so here I'm gonna forward lean. I'm gonna sink down with control. 3, 2, 1, pause. Bang, up powerfully. 3, 2, 1, pause. Up powerfully. Taking our time on the way down. 3, 2, 1, pause. Sticking at the bottom. Power coming all the way up to the top. Bracing the core. When we're doing these single leg exercises with our foot elevated, we don't want to rely on that back foot. We're just kind of using it for balance. All the work is being done on that front leg. So I want you to think about making sure that the front leg here is the working leg. And that you're not doing any extra push other than using that back foot to help give you some balance. 3 seconds coming down, 2 second pause, bang! Punching yourself all the way up to the top of the rep. Whew! Man, you can get a with or without a weight on that one. All right, so we had a couple seconds left. Might as well hit a couple more swings. All right, so on our swings, let's think about driving our heels through the ground. Squeezing our quads, squeezing our glutes, hard exhaling, bracing our abs at the top of the rep. Open up the stance, hike it through. Woo! All right, our first sequence is done. So we're gonna move on. And what we're gonna be doing next is gonna be a single leg, shoulders elevated, glute bridge, and then a sumo stance, Romanian deadlift. Let's start with the sumo stance, Romanian deadlift. The stance needs to be out and wide. All right, so imagine like a big sumo wrestler, stance is wide. Imagine there's a crack right between your feet, and you're trying to take that crack and split it open. So you want to push into the ground and drive outwards. So when I'm in this position, I'm barely going to bend my knees at all. I'm going to hinge just like we did in our warm-up, except this time I'm not going to pull myself into a squat. I just want to tip over, feel my hamstrings, stand tall, and squeeze my glute. All right, so that's going to be the sumo stance, remaining deadlift. Then we're going to go with a shoulders elevated glute bridge. So what I want to do here is I want to catch the bottom edge of my shoulder blades on the edge of the bench. From here, I'm going to elevate my hips up nice and high. I'm going to bring one leg up. Notice my eyes are going to finish down here. When I come up, my eyes are going to finish at the ceiling. Okay? So 8 to 12 reps on our sumo, and then we're going to go 10 to 15 reps on the single leg glute bridge. If you don't have something to elevate your shoulders up onto, you're just going to do it off the ground. All right, this is going to be a 10-minute set here, guys. 10-minute set. Let's work hard. Let's have some fun. So, sumo stance, Romanian deadlift. That's going to be our first one. So I'm going to get my stance nice and wide. I want to really focus on getting the outside part of my hamstrings here. So I'm going to be hinging over. I'm going to tip, 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 driving my weight back, feeling my hamstrings, and then finishing up nice and tall with a good glute squeeze. Tip, 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 tip. So I'm working really hard on driving as much weight possible behind my body. We call that a posterior weight shift. So think about really shifting your weight back into your heels. Imagine there's kind of a wall back behind your butt, and every single rep, you're trying to tap that wall with your butt. So as I get into this thing, my arms are nice and long. If I'm working with a kettlebell, I'm gonna grab that handle and I wanna try to bend it in half. When I do that right, it's gonna help turn on my lats and give me a little bit more stability through my upper torso. We want that because that's gonna prevent you from rounding your spine. So, stance is wide. I'm gonna bend the handle in half. I'm gonna push my hips back, 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 back. And what I should be feeling here is my hamstrings, more specifically the outside part of my hamstring, my lateral hamstring complex. If you're doing those for the first time, do them slowly. Really focus on the muscle that you're trying to hit. Once you got that kind of pattern grooved, then you can start speeding it up a little bit. But always start with nailing that muscle group that we want first, and then stacking intensity or weight / load on top of it. All right, so single leg glute bridge here. So I like to set up with both of my feet on the ground. I find that's a little bit easier to get into position, so I'm gonna get my shoulder blades up onto the edge. I'm gonna bring my heels towards my butt, not super close. Now I wanna make sure that my feet are kind of in line with my hips. From here, I'm gonna bridge my hips up, and then I'm gonna pick what leg I'm gonna work first. So my abs are gonna be nice and tight, my arms are long. My eyes are up at the ceiling, and then as I come down, they're gonna tip towards the front wall, and then drive up, head goes up. Sitting down into it, drive up, head goes up. At the top of every rep, I'm gonna squeeze my glute as hard as I can. Making sure I contract my glutes as powerfully with every single rep. So then I'm gonna switch legs. Remember, this is a high repper here. So I'm not doing as many because I'm kind of going through them a little bit slower, and I'm kind of walking us through them a little bit, but you're trying to hit 10 to 15. So 8 to 12 on that sumo stance Romanian deadlift, 10 to 15 on the single leg bridge. All right, so I'm gonna reset at the top, get in a good position. From here, I'm gonna bring up one leg. Eyes are coming down, head's coming down, drive up. Good squeeze at the top of the rep. I'm thinking about keeping my core nice and tight here as well. So I don't wanna be arching through my low back. I wanna be focusing on extending through my hip. All right, so as I go up nice and hard, I'm gonna squeeze my glute as powerfully as possible at the top without arching through my low back. So I'm driving up, my core is nice and tight, my heel is driving through the floor, I'm squeezing that glute. Sitting into it, drive up. Sitting into it, drive up. And again, we're going 10 to 15 on that single leg glute bridge. Once you finish your reps, you're gonna take a little bit, and then we're gonna go back into our Romanian deadlift. So you've done the movement once, you should kind of be getting the hang of it. You kind of know what muscle groups we're after. So on this set, you're thinking, all right, if I can, I wanna ratchet up my intensity here. I wanna work a little bit faster. I'm gonna open up my stance. Anytime we do a deadlift, we don't want to pull that weight from a position where it's way out in front of our body. Lift this weight off the ground. I want to get my body mass almost directly over the top of this thing. And this is just going to set myself up in a good position. So I'm over the top of this thing. I'm going to hinge my weight back. I'm going to bend the handle, and then I'm going to set up at the top. From here, I'm going to tip, 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 tip. And then coming back up. I have a very, very slight knee bend, not much at all here. Just enough to help kind of load and turn on my hamstrings. At the top of the rep, I'm gonna focus on squeezing my glutes. So we wanna be really powerful in that finished position. On the way down, we're taking our time. We're creating a good hinge. Finding those hamstrings, and we're gonna stand up. Good, powerful glute squeeze. I'll rock a couple more from this position here. And then kind of going back to our feet, we're trying to push out. So the whole time I'm trying to drive back, I'm also trying to drive my feet out to the side. So I'm pushing out to the side as I'm coming back. And when you do that the right way, you're gonna feel a lot of good work through the hamstring and then also through your adductors here a little bit, which are two muscle groups that we sometimes neglect in our day-to-day. Most of us don't normally use our hamstrings and our posterior chain as well as we could. We tend to be a little bit more dominant, right? Those are gonna be the main muscles when we're walking, when we're running, when we're doing spin, when we're hiking, right? We're gonna kind of utilize the quads. But we know we need balance, and for good balance and good health, we have to make sure we're developing the full muscle group. So not just the ones in the front, but the ones in the back as well. All right, here we go. I'm pushing out, I'm hinging back. So really thinking about getting that weight back and then finishing tall at the top of the rep with a good glute squeeze. Woo! All right, 8 to 12 on those sumos, and then we're going 10 to 15 on these single leg bridges. So again, I'm gonna catch the edge of the bench with the bottom of my shoulder blades. I'm gonna work my feet in towards me. I'm gonna elevate my hips. My eyes begin facing up at the ceiling, then as I lower down, they're gonna tip at the forward wall, drive through the heel, squeeze the glute hard, control yourself coming back down. Drive up, good glute squeeze, down with control. High rep here, guys, 10 to 15. My core is staying nice and tight. That's important so that we're not cheating through our low back. And as we bridge up, instead of arching through the back like this, now we're making sure that we're extending up through our hip. And when we extend properly through our hip, you have no choice but to use your glute, which is what we're after here. All right, so once we finish one side, we're gonna reset and hit it on the other side. So I like setting up in the top here, bringing one leg up, and then getting into it. Ah. Woo! And again, we're going 10 to 15. Oh, super spicy today, super spicy. You guys got this. All right, one more minute here, one more minute. A lot of good work. We're gonna come back to our sumo one more time. So we're coming back to our sumo. Stance is nice and wide. On this set, I want you to notice my shin angle. So my shins aren't going to be driving forward like this. I want to try to keep my shins pointed straight up at the ceiling. So I'm pushing out and hinging back. And my shin bone again is just going to be pointing straight up. So on those, your two thoughts are driving your feet out nice and wide, and then also shifting your weight backwards. So those two things, you're going out to the side, you're going back, you're loading up kind of like those lateral hamstring tissues. Woo, baby. Alrighty. Time for a little bit of core work here. Time for a little bit of core work. So we're gonna be doing 4 different exercises. If you have a band, you're going to attach it to something that is maybe about, I don't know, belly button height, something in there. This is called a payloft press. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna hold the band in line with my midline. I'm gonna push it away. I'm gonna pause and bring it back in. Push it away, pause, bring it back in. If you don't have a setup where you could do that, you're gonna be doing a single arm shoulder tap. So with the single arm shoulder tap, you'll be in your high plank position and you'll just be taking your right hand, pause, down, pause, down. All right? So we're gonna be doing 4 exercises. We're gonna be doing the payloft press or the shoulder tap, so that's an either or. And then in between, we're gonna be doing 2 different things. So we're gonna do a wide-legged sit-up, where we're gonna be rolling ourselves up, rolling ourselves down, finishing nice and tall. We're gonna go back to the other side of our payloft press, and when we come back, we're gonna do a little curl-up crunch. So a curl-up crunch, what I wanna do is flatten my low back into the ground. I'm gonna put my hands behind my head, and I'm not gonna crunch forward like this, but I wanna lift my chest up towards the ceiling. So I'm gonna be in this position, I'm gonna lift up, little pause, come back down. Pause, come back down. All I'm really thinking about is pushing my lower back into the ground and elevating my shoulder blades up off the floor between each rep. Squeezing my abs as tight as I can every single set. All right, so set up your band. Remember, if you don't have your band, you're gonna be doing that single arm shoulder tap. All right, last thing we're doing, this is gonna be a 3-rounder, 30 seconds per exercise. Let's have some fun, let's work hard. All right, so we're gonna start actually with our wide-legged sit-up. So on the ground, stance is wide. Rolling ourselves up, finishing tall, rolling it back down. When I take my arms like this and kind of use them and throw them over my body, this is gonna make it a little bit easier. If I wanna make it a little harder, I'm gonna take my arms, I'm gonna cross them over my chest, and then roll myself up, roll myself down. Just like any of these kind of sit-up type moves, I wanna go up and down one spinal segment at a time. So I'm gonna roll, and then I'm gonna roll myself down. All right, so quickly, we gotta transition. So either your single arm shoulder tap or your payloft press. So I'm gonna bring my band out, pause, coming right back to my midline. Notice this band does not deviate from my midline. It stays directly in line. I'm gonna stick and pause, I'm gonna come back in. Stick and pause, come back in. If it's too hard, I'm just gonna move inwards a little bit and find a resistance that I can handle. If it's too easy, I'm gonna move away. Make it a little bit more challenging. You should really be feeling your core here. All right, before we do the other side, let's come back to the ground. And this is gonna be our crunch. So my knees are bent, hands are gonna be behind my head. I'm just gonna lift up, I'm gonna squeeze and come back down. Lift up, squeeze, come back down. Lifting your chest to the ceiling. Pushing your low back into the floor every single rep. Woo! All right, and then we're just gonna go ahead and then we're gonna face the opposite direction with our payloft press. So, pardon me while I have my back to you on this set. I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna stand nice and tall. I'm gonna push it away, come back in. Push it away, come back in. All right, we did one set. We did one set, we're gonna do two more. Two more here, y'all, two more coming up. We're gonna start with our wide-legged sit-up. Wide-legged sit-up, rolling yourself up one spinal segment at a time. So stance is nice and wide. All right, hands either gonna go behind the head, across the shoulders, or throwing them forward. So I'm gonna start level one, throwing my hands forward, rolling myself down, rolling myself up. Nothing jerky here. Really focusing on using my abdominals. Level two, arms are coming right across the chest. Roll yourself up, roll yourself down. Roll yourself up, roll yourself down. Level three, hands going behind the head. Oh, saved by the bell. All right, quick transition. Get into your single arm shoulder tap or your payloft press. So I'm gonna grab my band. I'm gonna have my stance rather narrow. If I keep a little bit more of a narrow stance, it's gonna put more emphasis on my core. If I go a little wider, it's gonna be a little bit easier because I get to use my hips to stabilize. But I wanna get more core since this is a core finish today. So I'm gonna prioritize a nice narrow stance. Good stick, right back in. Good stick, right back in. Transitioning quickly to our crunch. Heels are towards the butt. Hands are supporting the back of the head. Push your lower back into the ground. Lift your shoulder blades off the floor. Squeeze, come back down. Squeeze and pause, come back down. Remember in this one, we're not trying to go like this and crunch this way. I wanna lift up. I'm trying to lift my chest up towards the ceiling, which is quite a bit different than going this way, which is really just kind of cranking on my neck and not near as effective at getting my abs. All right, one more time here. Single arm shoulder tap or the payloft press facing the other way. Again, I got a nice narrow stance. I'm gonna punch out, keeping my hands directly in line with my midline. Then I'm gonna come back in. Almost there. Woo. All right, we're gonna take 30 and we're gonna finish this thing. So we're going one more time here. One more time, coach, a little step. Oh, stance is wide. Level one, we're gonna throw our arms over the top. Level one. Here we go. Roll ourselves down, roll ourselves up. Level 2, arms over the chest. Oh! Whew! Abs are feeling that for real. Ha! Back to our band, back to our single arm shoulder tap. Stance is nice and narrow. Push it away, a little pause, come back in. Oh. Woo. And then we're gonna hit our crunchy. We're gonna hit our crunchy. Heels in towards the butt. Here we go. Almost there. Woo! Last one here, guys. Last one. Facing the opposite way. Oh, come on. Let's finish this thing. Man, most staticky shorts of all time today, huh? Jeez Louise. Hands in line with your midline. Good stick, good pause. Yeah, we got this. Come on, push through. Ooh. Whew. Good work, guys.